everybody, I'm back to talk about telling time. In our last video, we talked about the parts of the clock. We talked about how this is an analog clock. It has a face and it has two hands. The short hand is the hour hand and the long hand is the minute hand. We use these hands to tell the time. We also talked about how it looks on a digital clock. It's a little bit more simple. The hour is listed on one side and the minute is on the other. Now, the most important part about telling a clock is actually being able to read a clock. So when you see a clock, you have to be able to read those hands and figure out what that is telling you. So I've got some easy steps to kind of talk to you about. Before we talk about the steps, you do need to know a little bit, and that is that the big numbers on the clock are there because they represent the hour. The large numbers, again, one more time, those large numbers 1 through 12 represent the hours of a day, okay? The hours. The shorthand is connected to those big numbers. The longhand, however, is actually connected to the minutes, and the minutes are a little bit trickier to find. In 1 hour, the clock ticks through 60 separate minutes. And it's shown on this teaching clock by these little blue dots. Every minute that goes by, tick, then another minute, tick. It does that 60 times before the hour hand gets to the next number. 60 times. Oh, sorry, I'm going backwards, aren't I? Tick, tick, tick. And as it starts ticking its way around the clock, you can see that the hour hand is moving just slightly. I've now got to the 20th minute, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Notice that the hour hand has moved a little bit. It's now in between that space between the 7 and the 8. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. It's getting closer to that 8. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, going a little bit faster. And by the time it gets all the way back up to the 12, the hour hand has officially moved all the way to the next hour. So you have to remember that they are working together, okay? When you're trying to read the clock, the hour hand is really specific. You're only going to notice the number that it's pointing at or the number that it has passed. So for instance, if it's here, it passed the 8, but it has not passed the 9 yet, okay? So let's take a look at my directions and we'll give it a try. So when you are reading an analog clock, step 1 is look at the shorthand. Remember, that's the hour hand. You can hear my dogs. Quiet. That was pretty good. So you want to look at the shorthand. Remember, that's the hour hand. And you want to ask yourself, what number is it at or past? And that's really important. So let's take a look and try a few of those. So I'm going to use my little clock just to help myself. So remember, anytime we're looking at the clock, we want to figure out where is the hour hand, what number is it at, and what number what number has it passed. So if we're looking at this time, right here, the shorthand is at what number? You should have said the 4. So right now, the hour of this clock is 4. Okay, let's try another one. Okay. Now this time, the hour hand is not pointing directly at any number. Instead, it's pointing sort of in between the 1 and the 2. So we have to remember that a clock always moves this way. So when we're asking ourselves what number has it passed, we have to see that the hour hand has passed the 12, yep, but it's also passed the 1. Has it passed the 2 yet? No. That means this hour right here on this clock is 1. It is the 1 o'clock hour right now. Okay, let's try one more. It's going to be a little bit harder. Okay, let's look at this one. I moved the minute hand too, just to be clear. So again, we want to find the hour hand. Here's the long hand. That's not the hour hand. We want to look for that short one. There it is. So remember, a clock moves this way. So what number has the hour hand passed? Because it's not pointing directly at a number. So what number is it at or past? Yeah, it has passed the 9. It has passed the 9. So right now, the hour for this clock is 9. Awesome. So step 1, anytime you're reading a clock, is to figure out which one is the hour hand, and then decide what number is it at or past. So for example, this one right now is in between the 9 and the 10. It has not passed the 10 yet, so it is still the 9 o'clock hour. This space belongs to that 9. That's step 1. Once you've read that clock and you figured out the hour, you would write it down. You would write it on the hour side. Be on this side. So we figured it out for that clock. It was 9. Now the second step, guys, is where it gets a little bit trickier. So the second step is you have to look at the long hand. Remember, that's the minute hand. And you have to figure out what number is it pointing at. And this time, we want to be as specific as we can. So we have to think about what number is it actually pointing at. Sometimes when you're reading a clock and you're looking at it, it may not be pointing exactly at a big number, but remember, every little dot is a number. There's 60 of those dots. Every little dot is a number. So this spot would be 23. This spot is 38. Okay, so each little spot around there is a number. Okay, now in first grade, we really focus on 2 big times. We focus when the minute hand is up pointing at the 12, and when the minute hand is pointing down at the 6. So those are the 2 most important ones that I want to share with you today. Okay, so the first thing we've done is we've got to figure out the hour hand, right? We figured out that was in between the 9 and the 10, so that represents the 9 o'clock hour. And now we're looking at step 2. So on step 2, we found the long hand. We're going to look what number is it pointing at. Now, there's a little bit of a helpful hint. When you're reading a clock, remember, every little digit dot represents 1 minute. So you could count all the way around to where that minute hand is to figure out what time it is. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, so this clock is currently showing the time 9:30. I don't know about you, but I don't want to sit there counting every single minute every time. So the great thing about clockmakers is they figured out that they're going to space each of those big hour numbers by 5s. So if you're great at counting by 5s, you can count really quickly using just the big numbers. So remember, 12 o'clock is the top of our clock, so we would start counting at the 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So the clock still shows 9:30, but it made it a little bit faster because we were able to count by 5s. So if we move our clock to something a little bit different, we can try to read this time. All right, so the first thing we need to do is look at the hour hand. The hour hand is here. It's between the 9 and the 10. Has it passed the 9? Yes. Has it passed the 10? No. So the hour hand is the 9 o'clock hour. The minute hand is pointing directly at the 9. So we can count by 5s, touching the big numbers until we get to this space to figure out what number in minutes this represents. Starting at 12, we count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So this time represents 9:45. Awesome. The last time I want to show you is a little bit different. Okay, you've seen it before. Let's start by looking at the hour hand. The hour hand is pointing right at the 11. It's past the 10 for sure, but it is right at the 11. And remember, when the hour hand is pointing at or past, that's the number we use. So this hour is 11. Now, let's count by fives all the way around to figure out what number we're going to put here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So this time shows 1160. But you know what? In time, we don't say 60. Instead, when we get back to the top of the clock, we just say o'clock. And we write it as 2 zeros. So this time is actually showing 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. So, quick hints. The first thing you want to do, look at the hour hand. What number is it at and what number has it passed? That'll help you to figure out the hour. Minutes, count by fives until you find where yours lands. Okay? Parents, in first grade, all we need kiddos to do is to figure out that pointing up at the 12 would be o'clock and pointing down at the 6 is 30. So in first grade, all we want them to focus on is doing the o'clocks and the 30s. Okay? They should be able to look at this kind of clock and figure out the time and read it and write it this way as well. Little challenge, see if your child can draw their own clock and draw the hands. All right, guys, good luck telling time. Thanks for watching.